So apparently everything went okay there in Memphis, Tennessee, and that is good news. In the studio, it is the Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Public Safety, Sean Tindell. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. Doing great.
You've gone through some label changes in your cards. You've had a card cost from Senator Tindell to Judge Tindell and now to Commissioner Tindell. That's a lot of cost on cards, keeping the printing people in business there.
Well, it's been a good run. I'm probably one of the few people that managed to serve in all three branches of state government in 3 years. So
that is it. Well, how's everything going so far? So now the appropriate do this. I want to make sure we do it appropriately. So is it commissioner appointed, or is it strictly commissioner, or is it commissioner to be, or how's that work?
I think it's nominated. I've been nominated by the governor to be the next commissioner pending approval from the Senate.
Have you gotten any idea when they're going to do
that? I believe it'll be sometime around the end of the month.
In the end of the month? Are there hearings that have to ensue first? No?
There'll be a Senate committee hearing. Typically that would either go to Judd A or possibly accountability and efficiency. So we'll see. That'll be up to Lieutenant Governor Hoseman to decide where he'd like to send that.
You were on the Court of Appeals District 5 as judge for, 2 or 3 years?
2 years, 7 months.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was. And it was really, I enjoyed my time there. It was a lot of great people to work with, a lot of very, very intelligent judges, and it was really an eye-opening experience.
Tell me how this happened, though. How did you get the call, and how long did it take for you to say, okay, this is something I want to do?
It was quite unexpected, and it certainly wasn't anything that I was, lobbying for or asking for. We had just completed our assistance in trying to help the governor with the pick of the next commissioner of the Department of Corrections. And I had returned home on that Friday and was sitting on the front porch with my wife and got a phone call and basically said, we'd like you to consider being the commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. So I was very surprised.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Go back and sit down on the porch again, and the mind is in a different place.
That is. And, I told him, well, the first thing I got to go do is talk to the boss and,
yes.
And see what she says about it.
How's that change your perspective or your daily routine now?
Right now it's a lot more intense. Being on the court, you work, but you can kind of work at your own pace, and this is 100% going all the time. And quite frankly, even the day after the announcement was made, I started having meetings at DPS and meeting with the division heads, and we joked last Friday that I hadn't even started yet, and I was putting in 8-hour days over there.
Well, is it more like, because you served also on the Second Circuit District Court in Harrison, Hancock, and Stone counties, did that for about 4 or 5 years. Is it more like that than being a judge?
Most certainly, certainly. And when you were a prosecutor, particularly when I was the lead prosecutor for Stone and Hancock counties. Mm-hmm. You were constantly having issues that come up at middle of the night, murders and crimes and issues that you got to deal with. Yeah. And that's the same thing here. The phone rings all hours of the night and all weekend, and you've got issues with officers, you've got issues with wrecks, you've got just things going on across the state that we got to keep up to speed on.
Department of Public Safety has a lot of employees, a lot of different agencies are different parts, moving parts to that. And just realistically, and I know from what I know about you, you try to get everything together and put your hand around it and learn every facet of this. How long do you think that's going to take?
Well, I do have the benefit, having been in the legislature and having overseen their budget on subcommittees, to have a little bit of knowledge about what goes on with DPS. So in that respect, I'm a little bit ahead of the curve, somebody coming in totally from the outside. It is a big agency. It has, I think it's 8 or 9 divisions underneath it, and they all have different issues. And so it's wrapping your hands around each one of those issues and that each one of those agencies face. And so it's going to take some time. Yeah. Obviously, number one for us is driver's license services right now.
Let's talk about that. What are we going to do, or you as Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, how are we going to get this solved?
Well, the legislature has some bills going through, and they obviously want to see some changes. I've assured them that I want to see some changes. I was raised in a small business family. My family owned Cajun's Fried Chicken and Mississippi Gulf Coast, a little plug in for them. And, I started working
Wait a minute, Perez. Did we not tell him if he was going to do that, he had to leave a couple of coupons?
He does have to leave coupons.
He has
for
to leave
everybody.
coupons now. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We can arrange that.
What was the name of that fried chicken, by the way?
Cajun's Fabulous Fried Chicken.
Two coupons on that. That's right.
But, I started busting tables there when I was 10 years old. And so, one thing that I learned from that is it's about operational management. And that's what we got to have in driver's license services. I've started reaching out to business leaders, owners of McDonald's, other packaging companies like Senator Polk, trying to get a committee together to review the operation management of driver's license services so that we can get people in and out of there in a more effective manner.
We know that it's going to stay within the Department of Public Safety. There's very little chance that it'll move over to the Secretary of State's office.
I don't think that's going to happen right now, but I can assure you that if we don't fix it, they might move it. And so I'm going to make every effort I can to get this on the right track. And I know people want it open. We've been closed for 3 months, and it's time to open. But when we do, we've got to kind of spread it out so that we don't have everybody showing up the first day trying to get their licenses.
Well, the other part of that is officers check driver's license for a multitude of things. And if they're going to be kind of outdated and they're not checking them, the problems exacerbate in other areas, do they not?
They do. And the governor's original order and with the cooperation of the Department of Public Safety extended, if you've got a license that expired between now and July 1st, it is good until August 3rd, I believe. So, right now, if you've got a license that expired, it's still good for a little while. However, I would tell anybody that has a license that's expiring, go online to www.dps.mississippi.gov. We have a link. You can go on and renew your license. It'll be good for another 8 years, and we'll mail it to you, and you won't even have to show up.
What happens if that was the rotation where you're supposed to come in? Does it matter?
We have made an arrangement to take care of that.
Oh, is that right?
So go ahead and do it now.
Well, the better half did it for me, and this has been several months ago. But it was in a day's time. I got it like 2 days later. I actually got it in the mail.
Yeah, and that's, and look, the reality is with this COVID experience, a lot of businesses have had to change their business models. Yeah. And to some degree, it's been for the better for them. And we're having to change the way we do some of the stuff at DPS, and in particular, offering more online services, coming up with possibly an app that can help people renew. And that's it. A lot of people want to go there and hold that driver's license at the driver's license station, but if it can save you a couple of hours, go ahead and get online and order your license.
Do it. Go get it done on the kiosk are not available.
They are not available right now. I think when we open back up, they'll be available in some places. But, using a kiosk is probably going to go about the way of using an ATM machine. Yeah. I mean, in another 5 years, you won't even see ATM machines out there. People will be using PayPal and Venmo, and so we got to stay ahead of the technology curve.
You were on the committee to find the new Department of Corrections. Have you met Burl Kane, our guy coming in after a while?
I did meet him. In fact, the first time I met him in person was when the governor announced both of us as his nominees for those commissioner spots. Right, yeah. But I felt kind of lucky having him there with me. I was a little nubby buck, and he was a 12-point in front of the media. So.
He took some of the heat off of you?
He took some of those bullets. Yes, he did.
I want to ask you about any possible protest. I mean, that would be handled by the Department of Public Safety, the highway patrolmen, men and women in uniform.
It would.
There, and we'll talk about that when we come back.
Okay.
Sean Tindell, Commissioner Tindell, is in. We'll talk to Tyrone Walker next half hour. Burl Kane in the house, 8:05. It is.
I've been missing you all week, a little.
You were staying in for quite a while, huh? You were doing social distancing for a while.
Yeah, about 2.5 years of social distancing on the Court of Appeals.
That's it. You can just go there and nobody ever hears from you again. But my guest is the new Commissioner of Public Safety taking over for Marshall Fisher. And have you seen him lately? I haven't seen him. He's probably kicking back for the first time in a while.
Yeah, he's probably sitting there drinking some coffee right now, thinking, "Thank goodness."
That's right, sitting in his underwear on the porch with a cup of coffee.
God, I didn't want to stop.
So, by the way, Marshall has not Marshall, but Sean has a degree from a bachelor's and master's degree from the University of Southern Mississippi.
To the top.
Is that it?
To the top.
Let's talk about the protest. What is happening now? As far as I know, we had the outlet stores in Pearl. There were a couple of other stores that said that they were going to close just as a precaution. What is going on in the country is just unbelievable and hard to grasp the reality of it. But your thoughts?
Well, in Mississippi, we've been very fortunate. I've been getting constant updates, and we've had protests from DeSoto County to Tupelo all the way down to Gulfport. From all accounts, they've all been relatively peaceful. And if look, that's one of the things that makes America great. If you don't like what's going on, you have an opportunity to protest it, but it should be done in peaceful and respectful manner. And that's what's been occurring in Mississippi. And if you look around the country, for the most part, I think the people that live there have tried to protest peacefully. It's some of these out-of-state groups that come in trying to create chaos, and that's the unfortunate part. And I can tell you that from our perspective, we're prepared. We're monitoring the situation. We have intelligence that's feeding us information, and we're working closely with the National Guard as well.
Yeah. Do you know what the different severe levels are as far as the ability to prosecute these people is if you're designated a terrorist group?
Well,
it's almost like a hate crime, but you have a different level of a possible sentencing.
Well, and it certainly becomes a federal crime.
It is a federal crime.
And the U.S. Attorney's Office has been in touch with me both for the Northern District and the Southern District, and we discussed that if some of these out-of-state groups are coming in and they're restricting commerce, the federal implications that could be had. And they assured me that in their conversations with the Justice Department and President Trump that he wanted to move forward with prosecution and attack this vigorously. Should the opportunity arise where we need to.
Yeah. As far as the legislature, any bills in there that you're watching now, and your cohorts in there, House and Senate, but is there some bills that you're looking at? And everything is just kind of in a fluid status now as far as the budget's concerned.
Well, it is, and the budget's going to be a top priority, especially if you look at the cuts that we're going to see across the board. So, everybody's going to have to tighten their belt, including DPS. There are also, obviously some bills dealing with driver's license services that I've been working with the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker and the respective legislators on. There's obviously some bills dealing with NBN, and I think there was one dealing with Sudafed. I don't know where some of those stand, but we're going to keep an eye on them.
Go back and look at the court system, too, and everything else, all the other parts and the other moving parts of the Department of Public Safety. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I know from my time
crime lab.
Well, yeah, you've got all those things. Crime lab. We keep losing our forensic laboratory forensic scientists, and they're going to other states, and that creates an issue for the courts because defendants do have a right to a speedy trial, and if the evidence can't get processed quickly enough, we run the risk of criminals not being able to be prosecuted, and that's on us, and we've got to improve that.
You served as Judd A. chairman and in the Senate for a while, also Senate Tourism Committee, and it's I know you hear people like Shaheen, who was in the other day on the air with one of my co-hosts here, or one of the hosts, talking about how the lottery money's coming back, the casinos are opening up. We're giving away 2 tickets because the Max is back open. We're looking forward to Billy Hughes turning the key on the aquarium. Those things are important to get back to normal. Oh,
absolutely. And I understand that the casinos had a record weekend, the weekend that they opened. And, that's good. You got to balance things. We got to be smart. I don't think we're going to proceed like we used to. People are just going to be a lot more cautious.
Is your agency, most of the people back there, or some still working from home?
Most everybody's back there. There is still a few working remotely, but that's only if they have any sort of really immune issues that would prevent them from coming in.
New Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, Sean Tindell, have you, and I know you're trying to get your hands around just as much as possible, anything that's glaring that you said we got to get this changed? And I understand the driver's license, number one, but...
Obviously, driver's license, and we talked a little bit about the crime lab. Mm-hmm. Those are big issues. I do have, we're looking looking at some division heads, and we have some vacancies that we got to fill, and that's glaring. And I'll say this: I've been so impressed with the men and women that work at DPS, the Highway Patrol, narcotics, our legal team, the whole gamut of everybody there has been very impressive and very proudful of what they do for our state.
Is the budget concerns now is going to put the end to any possibility of another class, or is that where do we stand with that?
Well, we recently had a class. I'd like to look at a more efficient way going forward on how we maintain troopers. If you look at the way we do it, we'll have a class, and then for 4 years we'll have retirements, and we'll get really low, and then we'll have to have another class, and then we kind of shoot up high again, and then it'll go down, and then we get in an area where we're concerned. I'd like to see us come up with an efficient way where we kind of keep that consistent so that we have a steady stream of troopers coming in as troopers retire.
Could that be done as far as the budget's concerned and lower the cost on this with less of a class?
I think there would be some ways to do that, and we're kind of diving into it. It's going to take a little time to wrap my hands around that, but I think that's going to be really better for the state. It's going to be better for us, and if we can find a way to save some money on that, that would be great.
What are you working on today? What's on the agenda today?
Well, first thing I'm going to do is head over to the office and respond to tons of emails and text messages about driver's license.
And complaints about what I said on the air today, probably.
Probably so. Then I'm going to head over and meet with some of the legislators on a couple of bills that we have, and then I'll be back at DPS working with our head of driver's license services trying to come up with our plan.
It's interesting on your perspective, put your Senate cap back on extending the session all the way through December or whenever they finally decide to do this. I can see from the Lieutenant Governor's perspective how this, and even the Speaker who's been on with me talking about this, and the House and the Senate seem to be in accord with this one. What does that do for the person who wants to run for office or who is in elective office now? How do you plan when you might have piecemeal, a day here, 2 days here, 3 days here, and nobody knows when?
Well, and it's very difficult. And to be quite honest, it is very much a sacrifice for the members of the Senate and the House, especially when you're at home trying to operate your own business, trying to spend time with your family. And some people have jobs, so they've got to explain to their employer why they're coming up here a couple days or every other week for the rest of the year. So it's difficult, but I think at the end of the day, these are extraordinary times. They require extraordinary answers. And I think folks are a little bit more understanding than they normally would be.
Have you instigated any? I'm sure you have, safety procedures at the Department of Public Safety, or were they already there when you got there?
I'll be honest, they were already there when I came in, and in fact, I think everybody's got a mask over there but me, so we got to work on that.
All right, so you know this guy coming in at 8:05 better than I do. What should I ask him? And I'm sure he's not listening now. So just give me a good question that I could ask him that nobody knows about.
I would ask him if he's going to. He's probably never had this question since he's been here. Are you going to bring a rodeo to Parchman?
Going to bring that? No, we haven't. We haven't had a rodeo in a long time.
That's right, and I bet nobody's asked him that since he got here. So he'll probably he might not even have an answer for it.
That would be my. You think did they have one in Angola?
They did, and it's quite an attraction. I know people that go to the Angola prison rodeo. They'll go every year for their anniversary and take a week trip to it.
We did that for a long time here, didn't we?
I heard that we used to.
I've never. We did. It's been a long time ago though.
Yeah, and
it gives them a chance to burn off steam.
Well, and look, it also they have a fair that the prisoners make their crafts. They have an opportunity to work on those throughout the year. They sell them. It goes into their commissary account. It gives them an incentive to do well. And I can tell you we interviewed a lot of candidates for that job. We looked over 50 resumes. And I know there's been some, questions about some of the articles that were run on Commissioner Kane's past. But I can tell you there was not one person that had any experience running either an agency, a prison agency, or being a warden of a large prison that didn't have something that came up in their history as some sort of questionable transaction or a lawsuit. I mean, they all had something. If they were in that business and had obtained any sort of level of leadership, they had gotten sued for something.
But you were at peace with the exoneration of that.
We were, and I tell you, when we sat down and met and listened to him, Burrell wants to change people's hearts, change those prisoners' hearts, and he believes that's the way to get them going straight, and it's very impressive what he's done.
Man, I thank you for coming in. It's good to see live bodies now.
Well, it's great to be back here.
The new commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, Sean Tindell, and Burl Kane will be coming in 8:05. We'll talk to Tyrone Walker. That's coming up in a moment or two. We'll talk to him. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Stay in touch.